my viewers, those who seek knowledge about this world that we find ourselves in. And I've been told that I have a tendency to talk about things without giving people enough context. So this is meant to be the first video talking about our new magical world, but I feel that I should give some background and just some context so the people viewing, if they're not totally linked in with everything that's been happening, will basically understand what I'm talking about. I still remember the day I first awoke magic. I was walking along on a snowy day, and it was cold. I should have put on maybe 1 or 2 more layers. I was rubbing my hands together even though I was wearing cotton gloves. Trying to focus, trying to think of something warm, while trying to get to my bus. But to my unfortunate horror, I had accidentally lit my gloves on fire. Luckily, it was a snowy day and I was able to plunge them into the snow, with only a little bit of damage to my hand. Just some minor burns and losing all the hair on my hand. I was actually lucky to get out that easy. Some people who awoken their magic didn't. I'd actually awakened it just 1 month before the Great Contortion. In fact, looking on it, it's been kind of surprising. It's almost been 80 years since that happened. At the time of me putting this down, I remember talking to my 7-year-old nephew just a couple weeks ago and having to tell him that people thought that mythical and magical creatures were just myth and that they weren't real. I still remember his look when I told him that, just was baffled. After all, he himself is able to cast some magic even at his young age. I'm pretty sure if you told him that if him and me had changed places the first 17 years of his life, he wouldn't be able to. He couldn't use a heat spell to warm up a small cup of hot chocolate. He would be shocked. But I'm getting on a little bit of a tangent. The Great Contortion was definitely a disaster, both economically and just as a whole. And even to this day, it goes by many different names. The Great Warping, the Great Magical Disaster, and even some people first called it the Magical Breaking, which I think was the one that caught on the least, seeing how it neither resulted in a apocalyptic world, nor was magic broken. In fact, it had returned. Something that would be apparent, since what had caused the breaking were magical regions, which were located in pocket dimensions, ranging from a few hundred to just 2 miles, which wound up altering or contorting the land into what you have today, which, let me tell you, wound up having to relearn half of geography was a pain, since it affected highways and power lines. I'm pretty sure there's still regions of the world that haven't fully recovered. In fact, I'm pretty sure there's still some towns that are MIA, with some rumors about people finding them deep within magical regions, or that some monster had destroyed them. Though I do not know if these are stories or if they are true. Though I do have some stories involving similar occurrences. Apparently these bubbles, as I will call them, were created to protect magical creatures from a drought of magical energy that had taken into effect well over 1,000 years ago, were apparently built by both human and inhuman mages over 1,000 years ago to protect magical creatures from going extinct, since a lot of magical creatures rely on magic to live. And when those re-merged with the world, it resulted in the contortion. Apparently, the ancient mages didn't expect humanity to spread so thoroughly and have so many separate instructions. Apparently, the spells were put in place to try to have it avoid things like small villages and roadways when it re-emerged, just simply not placing down, for all extensive purposes, not moving around the land underneath them, though this wasn't really that effective. So instead of a town being moved to the edge of a magic region, it would then get placed pretty much within the middle. This was particularly bad for any bodies of water, which has resulted in several roads being pretty much destroyed, even highways, since they now just go underwater. They would also be, for all extensive purposes, stretched until they broke to accommodate the fact there was literally more space between point A and point B. Along with things like power lines not really being taken into account, which just results in them being torn apart, along with magical creatures coming out. Everything from forest elves to goatmen, to even colossal ancient dragons. But I think much of that will need to be talked about later in their own dedicated videos. But tell me what you think. After all, I am excited to start this channel talking about little adventures and the different creatures of the new world. After all, it will be the best way to avoid mundane and magical dangers within this new world of ours. If you have any more questions, put them in the comments. I should have a Discord for this community I hope to grow. But besides any other questions or clarifications you might want, what do you think I should talk about next? Perhaps a short video on a couple of the different demi-human races and some of the theories about how they came into being. Perhaps a video touching on dragons, since that is definitely a popular topic. Perhaps the giants, or even elementals. Or perhaps even a quick video trying to explain magic. After all, within this world, things go deep and complex. I can probably find a dozen different things to talk about off the top of my head. After all, even with deities and primordials constantly changing and creating things, I think video ideas will just literally keep getting created.